He was born dirt poor in Oklahoma, in a one-room shack. He lived some bitter years, sharecropper's son, barefoot and hungry, had to sow the land with blood, sweat, and tears. Out of poverty, driven by a hunger, he left his home, determined somehow to pull himself up, get an education, and someday make his family proud. Then he married a girl named Shirley Ann Thompson, with long dark hair and soft blue eyes. They had 2 sons, a home and a future. He worked so hard to build a better life, but just when he thought he was on top of the world, it came crashing all around him in a sudden flash of light. He was fighting for his life. On that fateful July morning, he faced death without warning. He couldn't know out of that tragedy he'd meet his destiny. And here we are, thanks to a dreamer who dared to go where no one else had been. He blazed the trail for us to follow, inspired us all to dream again. He is a rock with a heart of gold, a tower of strength we can lean on. Always there behind us with a spirit that won't stop, giving the best he's got. He is a rock, a tower of strength. Always there behind us with a spirit that won't stop, giving the best he's got. He is a rock. He is a rock. He is a rock. He is a rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your founders, CEO, and chairman, Mr. and Mrs. Harland Stonecipher.
you. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. First thing I want to do, I just want to thank all of you on behalf of Shirley and myself. I want to just thank you for being here. I certainly want to thank you for being our friends. I want you to thank you for being our business associates, but most important, I want to thank you for being a part of our Prepaid Legal Services, Inc. family. And I want to thank you. I want to thank every one of you for joining us in a crusade that we've been involved in the most of our adult life. In fact, this is what we've been doing for the past 30 plus years. And this event, Prepaid Legal Services, Inc., this is our life. It's all we do. It's all we want to do. We decided many years ago that this was it for us. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of our life, because it is a great life for us, because of you. And we believe that we were put here to do just what we're doing. But tonight, I don't want to talk about Shirley and myself. I want to talk about you. I want to talk about every one of you, and I want to talk to you about more in 2004. That's what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk about more and better in 2004. I want to talk to you about how that you can have more of the good things in life for yourself and your family. Ladies, I want to talk to you about having too many shoes to wear, too many cars to drive. That's right. I believe every one of you ought to have too many shoes. I believe you ought to have too many cars to drive. I believe that your clothes closet ought to be too small for all of the clothes that you're going to buy. Is it okay if I talk with you about that tonight, ladies? If I talk to you about that, I want to do that. I want to talk to every one of you about being debt-free and financially independent. Is that okay? Well, I want to tell you, we have the vehicle. We have the vehicle to make that happen. And I'm like John Gardner. If you're not convinced of that after this convention, then I'm probably not going to convince you up here tonight. But we have the vehicle to make that happen, and the vehicle is Prepaid Legal Services, Inc. And I want to sell you on that. I want to convince you tonight. I'm going to put a sales job on you tonight. That's what I want to do. I'm going to convince you that you're at the right place at the right time, and you have the right vehicle. You know, if you haven't figured it out, that's what I do for a living, is selling. So I'm going to do a sales job on you tonight to convince you that you're with the right company and at the right time. And I'm going to convince you that our quest for justice for all is a cause that is worthy of a crusade. It's worthy of a revolution. It's worthy of total commitment. Justice for all is worthy of a crusade. It is a crusade that could and should truly change America. But you know, crusades start every day. Crusades start every day, and most of them just quietly fade away. Now, why do crusades that have value, why do crusades that have meaning and merit, and why do they just normally fade away with very little fanfare? Well, I think the best way to understand is why that happened to a lot of crusades is to look at a crusade or to look at a cause that occurred that didn't fade away, but it's one that began and grew and truly made a difference in this great country that we live in today. Without a doubt, the most successful crusade and social movement in North American history is the civil rights movement of the 1950s. And it was led basically by one man, Martin Luther King. Now, why did this crusade succeed? How did they have the courage? How did they have the discipline to stand up against the dogs, the fire hoses, the long hot roads, the rain, the sleet, the snow? It wasn't about money. There was none to be had. In fact, they had to furnish their own to participate in this crusade. So what was it? What was it that inspired the solidarity and the devotion to a cause that made them willing to pay such a price? Not only willing to pay such a price, eager to pay a price, excited about joining that crusade. And I've studied that, and I've studied it for a long time, and I finally read a book by a historian that had written about this social movement, and I believe he understood, and I believe in 2 sentences, he explained to me why that crusade worked and why that crusade changed America. David Chappell, noted historian, in his book, The Stone of Hope, in 2 sentences, captured what made that crusade what it was. It was the conviction that God was on their side. The conviction that a higher power was with them. The conviction that God was on their side. The conviction that a higher power was with them. That was it, just pure and simple. Now, I know that I run the risk tonight. I run the risk tonight of offending some of you, possibly by my position on religion and what I might say about religion. I hope that's not the case, and certainly not my intention to do that. Hopefully my religious belief will allow me to recognize yours if they be different from mine, but at the same time, make no mistake, I make no apologies. I make no apologies. I am proud of my religious beliefs. I am proud of the fact that I believe in a higher power, and I am proud of the fact that I believe that I have the ability to call on that higher power anytime I want to. Now I want to talk to you about our crusade, because the term crusade simply means a holy venture. And what the civil rights leaders and what Martin Luther King had that gave them the unbelievable strength and perseverance was just old-time religion. And I don't want you to think that I am belittling by using the term old-time religion, that I'm taking anything away from that, because I'm not. I don't mean in any way to minimize its power, because I believe it's the greatest tool, the most powerful tool in the history of mankind. Old time, thank you. Old time religion inspired the sacrifices that reason and logic just simply could not do. I'm not going to talk to you tonight about religion in its ordinary sense. I'm not going to talk to you in the same way that probably your minister would talk to you tomorrow on Sunday about religion. I'm not going to talk to you about how to get to heaven. I'm going to talk to you about how we live our life today. That's what I'm going to talk to you about, is how we live our life today, how we live it tomorrow, how we live our life while we're here on earth. I want to talk to you about how we utilize the higher power to have more peace, have a better life, more shoes, more cars, more fine homes. And I believe that that higher power is intended to be used for that purpose right here on earth and right here today. John Maxwell's Leadership Bible uses David as an example. He uses him as an example of a great leader and also of a great team builder. And John Maxwell said that David just won battle after battle. And John Maxwell said that David was such a great leader because he simply relied on and called on a very regular basis a higher power. For a crusade to be successful, for any crusade to be successful, faith is required to face the uncertainties of that crusade. There are uncertainties in our crusade. We have faced a lot of uncertainties, and it takes faith to be able to face those uncertainties. But when you combine that faith with a common effort by many, and I think we have a common effort by many that is concerned about justice for all, when you combine that common effort with many and the dream of a shared destiny, and that's what we have, is the dream of a shared destiny, our crusade is to simply bring about justice for all. Patrick Henry was said to be the firebrand of the American Revolution. He was said to be the reason that the American Revolution worked, that it was successful. But I think, and probably all of you in this room can remember a part of what Patrick Henry said. Patrick Henry said, "Give me liberty or give me death." But that's not all of what he said. That's not all of what he did or what he said in that talk. And I want to read you the actual talk that Patrick Henry made. He called on a higher power when he said, "An appeal to arms and the God of hosts is all that is left to us. But we shall not fight our battle alone. There is a just God that presides over the destinies of nations. The battle, sin, is not to the strong alone. Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but for me, give me liberty or give me death." You know, it took a lot of power. It took a lot of strength to stand out there and to say that and to mean that under those circumstances, to say, "Give me liberty or give me death." He had to call on a higher power to be able to have that strength. With a strong faith, a belief in that higher power that is with us, then we can become totally committed. I mean, we can actually lose ourselves in a cause. And the source of that conviction, the source of that ability to be able to totally lose yourself in a cause is not logic. It helps. It's not knowledge. It helps. It's not reason. It helps. It must be something that can inspire what reason, knowledge, and logic cannot. And this source can only be of faith in a higher power. Faith can be a driving force that causes one to put forth supernatural effort. It can be a force that causes one to lose oneself in a cause and accomplish unbelievable results. If our Creator is on our side, who can be against us? And I tell you tonight that I know that our Creator is on our side because we're doing the right thing. It's a worthy cause. Would you agree that what we're doing is a worthy cause? I want to tell you that my goal in 2004 is to make spiritual leadership more real and more believable in 2004 for every one of you in Prepaid Legal Services Inc. For any of you that may have lost that faith, for any of you that may have lost that faith, I want to make that faith in that higher power again believable. To any and all of you that may have lost faith or lost some faith. You may say, "Well, I tried it. I tried having faith, and it didn't work." Well, my response is, it wasn't strong enough. My second response is, let me give you some of mine. Let me help you. I truly want to help you. Martin Luther King, he encouraged his followers to go into the lion's den. He encouraged his followers followers to walk through the valley of the shadows of death. And I know that some of you, along with me, sometimes you've made some calls out there when you knew you had just walked into the lion's den, right? I mean, sometimes you have to walk into the lion's den to be successful in our business. Sometimes to be successful in our business, you have to walk through the valley of the shadows of death. People who have faith in a higher power, though, inspire faith in others. Some people will say, well, that's just leadership. That's charisma. That's popularity. That's the power to communicate. But to me, it's just the fact that people who have faith in a higher power inspire more faith in others. Martin, thank you. Martin Luther King wrote, whenever Christianity has remained true to its prophetic mission, it has taken a deep interest in social justice. Justice for all must be the mainstay of any movement for social justice. Would you agree with that? You can't have social justice unless you have justice for all. It has to be the mainstay. There can be no real social justice without justice for all. We have a worthy goal, and it's a goal that certainly is worthy of a crusade. It's a crusade that is worthy of a belief that a higher power is with us. With faith in a higher power, we can believe and we can know that we will be successful. You see, I know we will be successful. I want you to know that we will be successful. And it's not because of me, but it's because we have that ability to call on a higher power. Now, why would I say that this is such a worthy goal that would give us the right to call on that higher power? Well, I think Proverbs 31, chapter 8 and 9 explains it rather well. It says you should defend those who cannot help themselves. Yes, speak up for the poor and the helpless and see that they get justice. I don't think there's any more clear commandment than what that is. That's a very clear commandment. Speak up for the poor and the helpless and see that they get judgment. With faith, you can have the assurance of having a higher power with you on every call. You know, have you ever wanted to have somebody to go in with you on some of these calls? Have you ever been as scared as I've been going in on some of these calls? Well, you can have a higher power go in with you on every one of those calls. On every call that you make, you can have a higher power going with you. Every person that you talk to about this business opportunity, you can have a higher power there helping you make that presentation. If the Lord be for you, who can be against you? You see, I believe the Bible is very specific in its instructions as to how we should feel about injustice. I think it just speaks to it very clearly and very specifically how we should feel about it. We should and we must do something about it. We must be concerned about injustice in North America. And I believe that I was put here. I believe I was put here to do something about it, to make equal justice for all a reality. And I also do not believe that you were placed on this earth. I don't believe you were placed on this earth to waste away your years in labor that does not have a purpose or doesn't make a difference. You see, you were put here to make a difference. You were put on this earth for a reason. You weren't put here just to let your years and your life waste away doing something that has no purpose and something that doesn't give you the ability to make a difference. Our ability to make a difference depends on belief and faith. And it's about believing that you were created in the image of your Creator. It's about believing that you were created in the image of your Creator, and it's believing that He blew the breath of life in you. That's what it's about. That's what belief and faith is about. That you were created in the image of your Creator, that He breathed the breath of life in you, and because of that, I don't care what you've been through, I don't care what has happened to you, you have worth, you have dignity, you have value, and you have the right to the good things in life. You have the right. You have the right to the good things in life if you're simply willing to do the right thing. And I'm going to ask you to do the right thing. I'm going to ask you to believe. I'm going to ask you to have faith. I'm going to ask you to believe that there is a better tomorrow for both you and your family, and that it can and it will happen right here at Prepaid Legal Services, Inc. But remember this, 2 Corinthians 6 says, remember this, if you give little, you will get little. A farmer who plants a few seeds will get only a small crop. But if he plants much, he will get much. Folks, I ask you to believe that. That's the law. And if it weren't the law, it's just common sense. If you plant little, you're going to get little. If you plant much, you're going to get much. Folks, we have a lot of planting that we need to do. I believe in a shared destiny. I believe that because we're committed to that shared destiny, because we're committed to a crusade that is the right thing to do, a crusade that is sustained by a higher power that can lead all of us to that shared destiny of a greater and a better life, an abundant life. And my favorite verse, any book, anywhere, anytime, is John 10:10. He said, I am come that they might have life and they might have it more abundantly. You see, I believe that. They might have life and they might have it more abundantly. I believe that. I believe it. See, I think he wrote that for me. I think he wrote that for you. I don't care what some high-powered preacher tells you. I don't care how they interpret that. I don't care about their interpretation. I believe it says what it says, and it means what it means. And it means that you have the right to have an abundant life. You know, the first belief I have is in the higher power, but the second is that higher power intended for you and intended for me to have an abundant life, to have it here and now, not just in the hereafter. I'm talking about here and now, today, tomorrow. I believe in abundance. You know, Shirley doesn't have to have 3 cars to get to Ada from where we live. I mean, you know, she doesn't have to have that many cars. She could get there with just one. It's only about 20 miles. And she's not going to drive much farther than that, because when she gets up there, she's going to get on our private jet or a King Air and fly probably wherever she's going to go from there. But you know, I believe she ought to have all 3 of those cars. In fact, I want to get her one for every day of the week. I want to get her one for every day of the week. That's what I want to do. I wanted to have one for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because she does the right thing. She's done so many great things for me. I've never known her to do anything but the right thing. And I think when you do the right thing, you ought to have abundance. You ought to have an abundant life. My commitment is just simply justice for all. And to reach that goal, to really change America, to make equal justice under the law. You know, I look at those words on the front of the Supreme Court building, and it's a beautiful building. It's the most visible icon of the legal system that we have in North America. And those words say equal justice under law, don't they? There's one problem with that. It's not true. It's just not true. In North America today, you're going to get just as much justice as you can pay for. That's how much justice you're going to get. And that's the problem that people face out there in North America every day. And we have the ability to change that. But not only do we have the ability to change that, we have the obligation to change that. Because we know how to change it. We have the tool to change it. To make that change, to make equal justice under the law a reality for most North Americans, most of the time, then I must help to create more millionaires than any man has ever lived. I have to help create more millionaires than any man who has ever lived. You know, we had a lot of millionaires up here on this stage tonight. But folks, this stage ain't large enough to hold all the millionaires that we have to create. And I believe I have the power to help you become a millionaire. I believe I have that power because I believe you want to become a millionaire. And if you want to become a millionaire, I can help you do it. Webster defines abundance as plentiful, ample, rich, overflowing. I believe that your life ought to be abundant. I believe it ought to be overflowing. I believe that you should have a plentiful supply of not just everything you need, but of everything you want. Proverbs 11 and verse 24-25 said it is possible to give away and become richer. It is also possible to hold on too tightly and lose everything. Yes, the liberal man shall be rich by watering others. He waters himself. Folks, we have much to give away. We have much to give away in a product. We have much to give away and an opportunity because of that product. So ladies, let me just reduce it down to some real everyday language for you. I believe that plentiful supply again means more shoes than you can wear. I believe it means that your closet ought to be full to overflowing. That you ought to have more clothes than you can put in whatever the closet is that you have today. I believe it ought to be a major decision when you get up every morning as to which pair of shoes you're going to wear. I believe you ought to have to stop and think, am I going to wear the red ones today? Am I going to wear the pink ones today? Am I going to wear the black ones today, the gold ones today? Am I going to wear the ones that have a strap on them? Or am I going to wear the ones that don't have a strap on them? That's what I call a plentiful supply, and that's what you ought to have. That's what you deserve. That's what I want you to have. That's what abundance is. That's what I want Shirley to have. That's what my Creator wants her to have. And that's what this same Creator wants you to have. My goal is to see that you get it. You know, it's pretty simple to me. It's just real simple. He said, I am come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. And he told me how to get it. It's not rocket science. It's just pretty simple. He told me to serve others. He told me if I'd ask, seek, and knock. Do you agree that that's what he said? He just said serve others. He just said simply ask, seek, and knock. Well, I want you to agree to one thing tonight. If I can get you to agree only to one thing tonight, I want you to agree that you deserve an abundant life if you are willing to do the right thing. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that you deserve an abundant life if you are willing to do the right thing? You see, I believe you do. Now, I'm not trying to mislead you. I believe if you go home and you do nothing, you shouldn't have an abundant life. I don't believe you're going to have an abundant life if you go home and you do nothing. But if you will do the right thing, I believe you deserve and you will have an abundant life. It's not very complicated. It's not about education. You've seen people walk across the stage up here. It's not about how much education you do have or you don't have. It's not about how tall you are. People walk across from all different heights. It's not about your weight. It's not about race. It's not about creed. Not about color. It's not about age. None of those are a reason. All of them are excuses. All of them are excuses. And that's all they are. That's all they are. They're simply an excuse. And let me tell you, if you're wanting to walk out of here and you want some reason to fail, if you're looking for an excuse, just pick any one of them. It'll work. Any one of them will work. But they are not a reason for failure. Education is not a reason. Age is not a reason. Race is not a reason. Color is not a reason. Age is not a reason. They're just excuses, and that's all they are. I believe our quest for justice is the right thing to do. And because of that, I believe that the help is there, and it's available from a higher power if we ask for it. The scripture said, ask, seek, and knock. And in Luke 6:38, it said, give and it will be given to you. Give and it'll be given. We have a lot to give, folks. Would you agree that we have a lot to give? There's a lot of people out there that needs this membership. They're not going to get this membership unless you go out there and give it to them, right? There's nobody else out there. You're going to have to give it to them. There are people out there today that are looking for an opportunity. I mean, you've seen people walk across this stage tonight, $100,000 rings. You've seen from where they've come and how they got there. You've seen the $250,000 rings. You've seen the $500,000 rings. Folks, we have a lot to give. We need to let people know what we have to give. The civil rights movement was primarily a religious event. And that's why it was the most, in my opinion, the most successful social movement that's ever occurred in America. Recognizing the power that faith in our Creator can and does give us can bring a religious revival to our cause of equal justice for all. That power can be found in that religious revival that cannot be found anywhere else. And I'm going to say to you tonight that what we need at Prepaid Legal Services, Inc. is a just good old-time, old-fashioned religious revival. That's what we need at Prepaid Legal Services. You need to get fired up. I'm going to make another suggestion to you. When you get to your meetings, when you have your meetings, whether it's your weekly meetings, whether you're PBRs, or whether you're meeting in somebody's home, I would suggest that you open every one of those meetings. Open every one of these meetings this way. Say, oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory. That your hand would be with me and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. Now, why would I say do that? Because what does it say in the scripture? And it says, and God granted him his wish. Because he asked to enlarge his territory. You see, he granted him his wish. I believe he'll grant you your wish if you'll ask the same thing and do the right thing. If we're going to recruit a team, that's going to alter the course of history, it's going to change this great country, all of North America, how are we going to do it? Well, let me again go back to the Bible. I found that that's my best source for any type of motivational things that I can find, is just go back there and take a look. We might just look at how Jesus did it. He selected 12 ordinary men and women. He didn't select learned scholars. He selected 12 ordinary men and women, and he said to them, follow me. And they did. And then, after the 12, Jesus expanded this training to 70 unnamed disciples who also followed him, were trained by him, and he equipped them to carry on his ministry. He gave them the skills and the principles then to be able to influence others, and they multiplied his ministry, and it's still being multiplied today. And folks, if that is not network marketing at its best, then I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. That is network marketing. That's all it is. You know, we can multiply our ministry just by asking others to follow me. All we need is just some ordinary men and women. I mean, that's what we've had walking across these states. We have ordinary people accomplishing extraordinary results. And that's all that Jesus had, was ordinary men and women. And I don't think I need any more than he had. If he could do it with ordinary men and women, I believe we can do it with ordinary men and women. That's all we need. It's some ordinary men and women that want to do well by doing good. You don't have to ask permission for a better life. You don't have to ask permission for an abundant life. You've already been given that. He said, I'm come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. You've been given permission to have an abundant life, so why don't you do it? You can have that abundant life by doing as it says in Proverbs 31, 8 through 9. You should defend those who cannot help themselves. Yes, speak up for the poor and the helpless and see that they get justice. That's all you need to do. In closing, remember what it says in Matthew. Remember it says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks, receives. And he who seeks finds. And to him who knocks, it will be opened. That's all we have to do. Let me encourage you as you leave here to believe in that higher power, to call on that higher power, and go back to your part of the country and start a ministry and just start a good old-fashioned, old-time religious revival. Thank you.